lower bracket continues as we get ready for Evo versus Split on stage, a Trent on track. Padster, I'm looking forward to this one. This is set to be, hopefully, one of the more exciting matches that we've had so far this weekend.
Yep, I'm hoping it'll be close. As Import was saying, as you know, on the analyst desk earlier, it's for both players of Evo. I really don't know what we're gonna get. You know, on his day, for instance, I know Josh absolutely unbeatable as a player. Off his day, less so. You know,
Sure.
it's very much. I love that phrase of feast or famine talking about this Evo team because it's very accurate. And we saw some performances on some maps where you can see how good they can be. And then, you know, they beat Geese Can Fly 11-3 on one of the maps yesterday. That's an insane performance. They also lost the other maps 10-2, 11-4, and 11-4. It's very much all or nothing. And I feel like on the other side, you have a bit of the opposite. Certainly with one of the players, Killian has been so consistent this tournament, constantly, you know, playing at a really high level. Koza, bit shakier. She's had some really good maps. She's had some dodgy ones. I think, yeah, it's going to be tough for Split, in my opinion. I reckon it would need to be a real off day for Evo for Split to get through. But I can definitely see them grabbing a map, maybe two off of them.
Yeah, and I do think fundamentally the problem is, because we've been dancing around it, right? We keep saying, wow, Evo took a map off of Geese Can Fly, and we haven't really mentioned which map it was. And the answer was, it was Perfect Blue. And the fact of the matter is, Evo look incredibly good on Perfect Blue. They are very, very good on that map in particular. And when you look back at what Split have been doing, they don't look great on that map. And I think when you're looking at it that way and you're saying, okay, there is a single map where I feel like we can nearly guarantee that when we play Perfect Blue, Evo are going to win it, and we're saying, well, they're a very kind of, you know, feast or famine team. It's very kind of momentum based. If they can get into it, if they're not in their own heads about it, they're going to do well. The fact that there's a map that we can look at and be like, yes, they probably win that one like 90% of the time, that's really helpful in terms of the kickstart of getting into the match, starting to get that momentum going.
Yeah, I'm certainly expecting that to be Evo's first pick. I'd be really surprised to see anything else come out, honestly. On the flip side, I feel like for Split, I can see them doing pretty well on its soccer, not football. You know, both Koza and Killian had a really good performance. Koza in particular, his best performance of the entire day was that match against Look Like Damp, and performance on its soccer, not football. Looked very, very good. Meanwhile, did Evo play that match against Geese Can Fly? Yes, and it didn't go well, to be perfectly honest. I was an 11-4 scoreline, so... they're definitely the two maps that I expect that kind of favor one side over the other significantly more past that point. I'm really not sure. An interesting map, which might sum up the series perfectly, is if they end up playing Wildfire.
Yes.
In terms of pace, I genuinely believe Evo are the very fastest team on Wildfire. They're absolutely rapid. And they got beaten 10-2 on it.
Yes.
Because out of the, you know, 4 rounds in total, they had one player actually finish a round. It was really, really hard watching because you'd have Josh in particular, like 3-4 attempts in front and then just drive off the track. And that kind of sums up this Evo lineup perfectly. This is the kind of map where if you look at the stats, you look on paper, it's like, yeah, Evo should absolutely wreck Split on something like Wildfire. In reality, if Evo drive off the track constantly, Split have an opportunity here. So Split really going to have to dial in their consistency. I'll be intrigued to see how much consistency we get from them. I've got a little bit of info that Koza doesn't want me to share.
Okay.
And that is, she told me before this match she drove 5 clean rounds in the entire time on the practice room. She's just glaring at me. Shouldn't have told the caster that kind of information.
You could have told me that information. I keep great secrets. If anyone wants to tell me anything, listen, I'll take it to my grave if I have to. It's really just Padster who's at fault here. Don't lump me in with that.
Don't tell the caster your warm-up stats. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. Of course I'm going to mention it. So, yeah. She might dial in on PCs. It might be a little better once she's on stage. But, yeah, I think it's going to be really tough to Split on some of the maps. Others, they got a decent shot.
Yep. One of those things, it is tough if practice isn't going well to then get on stage and kind of lock it back in. If sometimes things aren't quite clicking, sometimes the drifts that were working at some point, just all of a sudden you've lost the line, you can't quite get it again. To go back to Wildfire, that is one of the things we were talking about at the top of the show as well, talking about how it's that drift entry rather than the actual plastic jump itself that is really causing issues, as people are kind of missing that drift slightly, and the effects don't make themselves known until kind of 2 seconds, 3 seconds later when you go for the plastic jump and you're like, oh, my speed is not what I thought it was, and then you're in the air and it doesn't matter anymore. You've bounced off the plastic. So definitely all of these maps, if it's just not there, if something isn't quite working, there are places where that is going to make itself known. I mean, obviously Perfect Blue, that quarter pipe, if things aren't quite working, is going to make itself known. I will say, okay, hang on a second, because it's just occurred to me. The reason Perfect Blue didn't go very well for Split yesterday was, and I hate to call her out for it, kind of Kozler's fault. A little bit. And that was not a, massive skill issue or anything like that. That was just Kozler slightly overcooking the quarter pipe. She was very close to having a lot of very good rounds on that map if she had jumped 6 inches higher on Perfect Blue a lot of the time. So, listen, I'm kind of walking it back a little bit. I said, almost guaranteed Evo win that map, and I do still think it's very likely they take that map. But I'm saying, hey, if Kozler's kind of dialed that quarter pipe in a little bit more, all of a sudden that track gets potentially a little bit more interesting than it might look on paper based on how it was looking yesterday, based on the kind of scores that they got yesterday. There's a chance that map gets exciting.
We'll see. It's really hard to call. We could sit here and speculate, but the other thing to speculate is who they will be playing next. If we can have a look at the bracket, we can see that the winner of this match will be going on to face against Wolves. Who looked frankly terrifying today.
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, that lineup looked so much more dialed in, so much better. I honestly feel bad for Good Focus if they had to play against that version of Akaros and Wizzy, because against their kind of performance yesterday, that could have been a bit of a tighter match, but this version of Akaros and Wizzy, very, very tough.
I still think this lower bracket is up for grabs. I think the winner of this match, whichever team it ends up being, probably wins this match because it's a version of them that is looking strong on the day today.
Sure.
And with that in mind, then, I think, Wolves versus either of these teams is going to be particularly interesting. I think, we're going to see some exciting matches all day today. I mean, obviously, we go to the upper bracket final after this as well. Geese Can Fly against Moonveil is going to be fantastic.
I'm looking forward to that.
Whichever team from that drops into the lower bracket, whoever's coming through from the lower bracket for that match is going to be an exciting match. It's just, frankly, a good day of Trackmania, and it's a lovely day to be in the University of Staffordshire watching it all.
Oh, yeah. It's very much a quirk of any time you're using a bracket system. The first few matches often don't end up that good. If the seeding has kind of worked out as you'd hope, you kind of end up with all the best teams kind of far apart, and that is what happened here. And as we got further and further, we've got closer rounds, better performances from every player, and we can see the players are warming up there. There is Killian and Kozza, Josh and Key getting ready to play this. I'm excited for this match, and I'm excited to get into pick bands. Hopefully soon. Well, just picks.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. As we say, lots of options available for both of these teams. It will be split with the first pick, and again, we kind of said maybe it's soccer, not football, a possible pick for them. Wildfire, definitely, I think, on the board is a pick that we've been seeing go quite early. Teams happy to play that one early in general, and I think then we're probably seeing Evo pick Perfect Blue early on. But for now, waiting and seeing. A split are deep in discussion on the stage to decide which map they do want to go for.
Yep, they have had several hours over the course of the day to think about their first pick, and are now just discussing it, but we see soccer, not football. No surprise there. I'm now expecting to see Perfect Blue from Evo.
It does feel like the reasonable option. Well, although with that said, they could pick something else in second. You go Perfect Blue third. It's a little bit later in the match. It's at a more pivotal time. But they've said no. They say we just want to get the momentum early. Let's get this ball rolling if we have to. Perfect Blue, second map. And it means decisions then to be made about what is map number 3. The answer is Wildfire. So open to get the ball rolling on Perfect Blue. Carry that through into Wildfire. Leaving a choice then for a split. Is it Peak or Flower of the Ground to go forth?
Flower of the Ground. We are not going to see the Ice 360 on Peak this time around.
We could. We could go to map 5.
Yeah, hopefully we do get to see the Ice 360 on Peak, and I'm sure all the players will love seeing that decide everything. Josh is giving me the evils for saying that as I whisper that. Not a map that I think either team particularly enjoy, not one that we've seen them play much, it has to be said. But
Definitely a little bit of a gentleman's agreement between a lot of these teams. I know Good Focus got in trouble yesterday for breaking that gentleman's agreement when we bullied them into picking Peak second.
Yeah.
It has been dropping down the order occasionally. I think that's going to fall off a little bit towards the end of the day. You know, teams are going to start picking things because it makes sense to pick them rather than letting casters bully them into picks.
Oh, but it's so much more fun this way. I love having some kind of influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think no team is really purposely picking into Peak other than Acros and Wizzy, who absolutely seem to dominate on it. It's certainly something I think that comes from Wizzy's kind of heavier experience playing in TMGL and TM World Tour events, but he's kind of used to these slightly jankier tracks.
Stockholm syndrome of some kind. He's
perhaps,
like, oh no, I like identities. It's fine. They're good, actually.
I mean, given some of the maps that he has built recently, specifically enjoying Ice for the Red Bull event, for instance, it's...
Probably for the best that Wizzy has left the room to go and keep practicing, so yeah, doesn't have to hear us slandering him like this.
I never slandered him. I just said he has an interesting take in tracks. That's all I was saying.
Everyone here heard what you said, Padster, so you don't have to walk it back now. We should be getting into game shortly now. Players will be finishing up their warm-up on stage. We will be jumping on in to the match between Good Focus and Wolves, apparently. Babs, you're looking very different up there at the moment. It is going to be split on the left. That is Evo on the right side of your screens at the moment. Key very kindly wearing the hat, so at least we have the logo on there somewhere. And it will be the Lin map, soccer, not football, to kick us off in this lower bracket.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is obviously the pick coming out from Split.
Yep.
They've looked good on it so far. Evo have looked shaky. I'm curious to see what we're going to get here as we get underway. Killian and Koza versus Josh and Key. We have round one here of the lower bracket, round two.
Yeah, it'll be a very fun match. And
oh yeah.
as we said, comes down to momentum, comes down to which of these teams gets off to a good start. And Josh has put the car on the wall on outside dirt, falls back to Killian. So it's a battle, two different battles going on track at the moment. Kozer was up front alongside Key, but a very wide exit to the bug slide leaves Kozer dropping down the order and Josh back on the heels. Evo potentially chasing an ace in round one on Soccer Not Football. 360 still to go with Kozer and Josh wheel to wheel as they go around these final couple of corners before it. There is a lot to play for here. Josh, again, a touch on outside dirt, slowing down, struggling to keep the pace up at the moment. Kozer needs to keep this clean, can't afford to crash it out. Oh, she's so low on the exit, does survive though, and this will be a round win. Evo Esports taking 2 points for the first round.
Yeah, great performance from Key in particular, as everyone else behind was having crashes or clips or, you know, tiny little slowdowns. Key drives within 0.5 of world record. Not much more you can ask for Key there at all. Josh needs to iron out a few little clips if they want to make this track a bit
Outside dirt was not
easier.
his friend in that round. Didn't
No.
matter which outside dirt, Josh was just having a struggle with it. This was the first place things started to go a little bit wrong, has survived this time around. And so it's Key and Josh sitting 1-2, and I think maybe that's a little bit scary for Split because the pace absolutely looked to be there for Evo. This is a crash from Josh on that bug slide, and this is also the pick for Split. This is the map that they wanted to start off on with the hope that maybe they could carry a little bit of momentum through, put pressure on Evo early on in the match. And Evo are looking to have great pace so far.
Yeah, it is looking strong for Key in particular, stepping up his game today. Running away with these rounds, it's got to be said. 0.4 gap, even a dodgy ice slide, and you'll be fine. Sadly, the dodgy ice slide comes out for Killian instead. Josh up into third place, and we get a carbon copy of the previous round. Evo moved 2 points ahead.
That's such an unfortunate crash for Killian on that 360. That is what happens. The 360 is difficult. You're going to see mistakes there, and Josh doing a great job of staying in the round, staying close enough to take advantage. And Evo Esports move up by 2, and they'll look to move further up as well, as Killian, it looked like no slid into a wall early on in the track, going to start dropping a long way down the order.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate from Killian so far. Obviously, before Matt was talking about like how consistent a player he had been for Split, and that was kind of a thorn that I reckon would be in the side of Evo. But Killian making more mistakes than anyone else so far. Really, really tough to watch.
Yeah, although Josh has made a few mistakes as well. I'm not going to call that one a mistake, just a little bit of a missed line on the drift, dropping behind Causer for now, but carrying good speed through this section as well. That turn in particular, very interesting. We've seen some players, Epos in particular, goes for that similar line to what we saw from Josh there, going re-grip around the base of that pole, and potentially gives you a lot of speed through the track, and you can see that has snowballed a little bit. Josh pulled away from Causer. Evo 1-2 to the finish line, and they will pick up an ace on round 3, moving already after only 3 rounds to track point.
Yeah, I've just got to compliment the performance from Key here. 3 rounds, 3 wins, driving within 0.4, 0.5 world record. There's not much more you can ask for. And this wasn't their pick. This is what we were talking about, was Split's best chance, realistically. Or the map where we reckon there was a chance they could win. Killian hasn't been there. The consistency hasn't been there. Koza just lacking a little bit in pace. And although Josh has been making some mistakes, as we see another kind of slowdown from him, Key is just looking unbeatable. Yeah. Absolutely in the rhythm of this match.
Yeah, incredibly quick. And honestly, I'm a little bit worried here for Split. Wasn't for that reason, although Killian putting him in the wall gives it a lot more of a reason to be worried. It's specifically on this uphill because, again, look, Josh inside line looking for more regrip, going to carry more speed if you can hold it than Causer would. And Causer trying to keep up has put the car in the wall. Touch on the outside dirt, dropping into 3rd place. Needs a crash from Josh or Key, and there isn't one. Key a little bit slow on the exit, but not slow enough. Causer clips again, and Evo Esports across the line, 1-2 again to pick up map 1.
Great performance there from Evo. Incredible performance from Key, it has to be said. Truly the difference maker there. I mean, Josh also played well, but Key's performance, that's one of the best one-map performances I think we've seen from any team so far.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic from Key. I will say very strong from Josh as well. I mean, good recovery as well. It's easy to get rattled after, you know, small mistakes, small clips. Your line's just not quite doing what they're supposed to do in early rounds. But Josh turned it around and drove some very quick rounds from there on out. Was able to hold on to those second places in the second last round, round 3 and round 4 as well. And I mean, hey, you need 2 players in the top 2 to get an ace, and Josh was doing the work.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, great performance from both Evo players. But just to highlight how well Key played there, his median time was within 0.5 of a world record.
Yeah.
And his median time was only 0.3 off the best time he drove. That's just nuts consistency. On a map with a 360, it's not a map that you expect to see super consistent times on. So, yeah, great performance from Key. Strong performance from Josh. This is going to be a very large uphill battle for Split going in to the next match with
We're going to Perfect Blue.
Is Perfect Blue.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, we said beforehand that, this is going to be tough on Perfect Blue for Split. Evo have looked so good on this map, but hey, maybe they can get a win on It's Soccer Not Football. Maybe then it'll just be a case of Evo trying to kickstart their momentum. Evo have started. They have gotten momentum going on map 1. As you said, Key looking fantastic, and Perfect Blue was so strong for Evo yesterday. It feels like we're kind of already at 2-0 in the match, and that's very unfair to Split, and I'm aware that that's very unfair to Split, but they're the ones who need to prove us wrong on this map.
Yeah, so far, on the comment of, you know, imports, feast or famine with Evo, it has been feast so far, but we see the first mistake from Key coming out this match, dropping him down about half a second. Honestly, a gap that could be made up on this track.
Yep.
You're going to need some mistakes from Split, well, I think, or some poor lines, but Key really pushing it down in 4th place. Koza and Killian kind of in an Evo sandwich for the time being. Josh probably further enough ahead, but so long as the quarter pipe is decent, he will be fine.
God.
How did Key survive that and he's still alive?
Legal round from Key, frankly. It's not even going to work out for him. I think he's still going to come forth, barring mistakes. No, Causer's crashed, and Killian's moving a little bit slower. Killian is to safe. It's Key to the finish line. It's Key with 2nd place, and it's an ace for Evo. And again, one of the most illegal rounds I think I've ever seen from Key. Some of those pushes around the outside were just nonsense. He should have crashed.
Yeah.
He did not.
But Key's rally car driving, I think, distracting us from Josh being within 0.3 of the world record that I believe he set about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great performance from Josh here. His best performance of the match so far, as we see another mistake from Killian. He's just not looking dialed in today, and it's really rough. And you hate to say the round is over within the first 16 seconds, but...
Well, you say that. I did say the map was over before we'd even driven around, which I feel was definitely
worse.
more unfair. But,
That's
hey,
worse,
I'm
but we
being
are a
proven
free
right at the moment. It is currently 3-0, and it is Evo sitting in 1 and 2 again. And this time around, I don't think he's going to have to be pushing quite as hard. The gap back to Causer, 7 tenths from first place, and Josh is only a tenth behind his teammate at the moment. Key, again, getting very close to that outside wall and jumps a lot higher this time around. They have the gap. They can afford to be safe. With 1 drift to go, they can even choose to go to the safe finish if they want to. Josh will push past Key in the final corner, goes for the safe fin, and it'll be a 1-2. It'll be Evo. Hang on, Key?
Hey,
Killian? Killian? Okay. I don't know where Key went, and frankly, Killian probably should have come second in that round.
Was Killian on the safe finish?
Yes.
Straddling the wall? That was...
Yes.
The least deserved ace I've possibly ever seen, as we see another mistake come out from Key immediately.
Oh dear.
Key on this map has been rather entertaining, but perhaps not in the way
no.
he would have wanted. We see more no slides coming out from Killian and Kozza. And again, this one should be an ace, and I reckon Key might try and go for the safe finish this time. Just try and wrap it up nice and quick.
Redemption
Arc, that's what you're
gonna nail the risky fin this time around.
He needs the ego of beating Josh in a round.
Yeah, watch how low this jump is going to be in the quarter pipe. Key is definitely going to do the best quarter pipe jump we've ever seen, and definitely there's going to be a risk of failure, but it's not going to happen. Watch, here we go, into the quarter pipe. It's very high.
It's pretty high, but that was very safe.
I was trying to will it into existence. It doesn't happen. There will be no mistakes. Causer 1.6 behind. You can go safe here. Josh will. Key will as well, and they will pick up a 3rd ace in a row. And here on Perfect Blue, Evo Esports remain dominant.
Yeah, driving within a second of world record, taking the safe finish there, Josh. Yeah. His pace looking absolutely nuts, and this entire competition, we've only seen 1-12-0. The very first map, Retirement Home versus Geese Can Fly. Are we gonna? No, we're not gonna see another here. Josh has got into the wall. I'm kind of glad. It's not a great look for 12-0s, but
I'm not gonna discount the 12-0 just yet. There's a touch on the outside from Killian, as Causer is still in the hunt. But Key is out front, and all Evo need is a single point from this round. That means 1 player in the top 2, and Key's in the top 1 right now. That's all you need to get done. And at the moment, Causer and Killian are just trying to stay in a position where they can take advantage. If there is a cash, Key has full just respawned. Didn't even attempt the jump. It's not over. Split now have the gap. Split can get to the safe fin if they want to. They should secure an ace for themselves in this round. Causer is going to risk it. Will make it safely, and Killian was right behind. It's an ace for Split. It's another round guaranteed on Perfect Blue.
Yep, they keep the slimmest of chances alive here, capitalizing on the mistakes of Evo, both driving risky as well. I think just for the pure ego at the end of that. They're keeping it in. We see another noselide from Okay, you don't normally benzene the car scooting upside down in front of things, but yeah, Key once again ahead. This is almost the same as the last round, where it's just like, come on, Key, you just need to hold on to the top 2, and this should be
done.
Dead and buried, to be honest. This shouldn't have even got onto a round 5.
I think that crash. Hang on, we'll watch the quarter pipe. This is the important bit. This was Key failing last time around. This time around, jumping high, jumping safe, still ahead, and this should wrap things up on Perfect Blue. Personally, I think Josh crashed on purpose in protest, saying, no, we should have won the last round. This was your fault, and it's safe. Key will make it into the risky fin. Key will pick up the point needed for Evo to lock up the match, and Split, they find themselves down 2-0.
Yeah, they went slightly the long way round there. Yeah. Perhaps a little unnecessary, but Evo, they got the job done. That is ultimately what's important. We're going to be moving on to Wildfire next, and again, this was probably the most extreme case of Evo's pace versus Evo's consistency.
Yes.
So, I'll be intrigued to see whether Kozza and Killian can try and stay consistent to pick up any mistakes, but you know, if we get a performance like we got at the start of Perfect Blue, or the whole of It's Soccer Not Football, this should be absolute domination from Evo. If they play like they did at the end of Perfect Blue, I'm less sure.
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, I guess, look, we'll wait and see. Can Josh kind of get back into it after 2 crashed rounds at the end of Perfect Blue as well? Needs to just shake it off, get the warm up, and don't crash in the warm up, I guess. Try and start to get these rounds working again as we get ready for Wildfire. It is a map that has, again, we've talked about it at length at this point, proved surprisingly difficult, surprisingly challenging for the players in this tournament. On the surface, it does look kind of like a fairly standard comp map, and then on the inside, there's a jump that apparently is a significantly harder speed check than it appears from the outside, followed by other speed checks as well, and it has caused problems.
Yeah, I think this is one of those ones where, unless you're a player and you've actually played the track, the speed check doesn't look that bad, but when you play it, you realize it's not just a case of you need good speed to make it, but you also need a good lineup into the jump itself. It's very easy to just be pointing a little too far left or right and just not make it. But we get underway, round 1 here on a Wildfire. Josh and Key looking to make their way
now where's
through the lower bracket.
Okay.
Where is
Key? We were solidly 2 corners into the track, and Killian
lost
nowhere
2 players.
found. And now several more corners in, we have lost 2 players. Key a little bit closer behind though, and Killian actually not far behind Key. So a second battle ongoing for 3rd place at the moment, but Josh winning the fight for 1st at the moment. The nerves at the end of Perfect Blue completely shaken off, it looks like, on Wildfire to start things off, as Kozzer is attempting to catch and will have an opportunity to, going very shallow into that drift. Kozzer is getting close. Do they have the speed to overtake Josh through this section? They have speed, they have the line. Yes, they do. Great landing from Josh though, landing so early, keeping speed through the dirt as well, regaining that lead, pulling slightly ahead. You can jump so far left here. Kozzer further left, has the line, doesn't have the speed.
Look at that! That might be the best round Kozzer has ever driven in competition. 0.5 off world record, beating out Josh on pure pace. No crashes, no chaos at all from those top 2. Just pure pace from Kozzer. What a round. I did not expect that coming into this, and Split take the lead.
Yeah, Split take the lead, and I think Kozzer helped a little bit there by, Josh having the right line, going far to the right of the finish. There's a touch from Key early on again. But Josh jumped so far to the right of that finish, and I think the roof hit actually lost Josh, 0.02 of a second, and did end up falling behind on that one. But Josh is out in the lead. Again, it was a great start to the round last time around. Josh managing to hold that lead right up until the finish line. And unfortunately losing it there, that's a wobble. And that is going to be a poor place for it to happen as well. Not a huge chance to gain the speed back for a little while. So Killian, you can see, extends the lead for another few car lengths as we round the corner towards this turn.
Yep, things have turned around this time. It is once again a Split player leading Josh, but this time it is Killian looking for a round win here. Josh trying to push, trying to get this 1st place. It's going to be real tight coming into this. Josh jumps as far left as possible. What an ending! What a snipe and a performance there from Josh. Risked every pixel. I thought for sure he was going to land too far left onto that platform to actually make it, but holds it together and must have gained about 2 attempts in that final checkpoint. That was a nuts push.
Josh simply decides he doesn't want to lose another round and doesn't in that case. Very solid end, and important for Evo as well, as that ties them back up. Scored 3-3, 2 rounds played, and no early mistakes this time around. All 4 drivers make it through the first 3 turns of the map. Unfortunately for Split, it is a 1-2 for Evo Esports. They are looking quick, they have pace. It's been consistency that has let them down in rounds previously across this map, across this match. But even with that, the consistency has been good enough. They're up 2-0, they're sitting 1-2, and they just need a couple of aces, and we're starting to say this match is looking over.
Yeah, again, both players, well, particularly Key, has had a strong start this time, keeping it in contention. All 4 players here, neck and neck on a 3-3 scoreline. Admittedly, a lot more on the line here for Split than Evo, debatably, because they will go out of the tournament if they don't win this map. But for now, it is Killian in the lead over Josh. No push this time from Josh. Another PB in a row from Kozzer. Great performance from all 4 players there. I gotta be honest, if I was Key and I'd just driven a 0.2 there and lost, come 4th, I would have been just confused, honestly. That is one of the best rounds we've ever seen on Wildfire. This map looking so competitive until I say those words, at which point Key and Kozzer into the wall. It is Josh out front, Killian trying to chase down as we are on the next scoreline. Another mistake from Josh. Gonna drop him back. We are in a draw formation. Josh goes into the wall. This feels like one of those maps where after you crash once, your speed is impacted for so long that you're just gonna keep crashing. It's one of these really tough things. It's almost like these players need to practice crashing at certain points, just check how to recover the run after that, because it seems to be such a common issue. But we've got these two scraps happening. Killian trying to chase down Key. I think that's a little out of touch. And then Josh and Koza behind, very, very tight. It's looking like it's going to be a victory for Evo until Key clips. Killian up into first. Koza gets Josh as well. And we move on to a 7-5 scoreline in favor of Split.
Yeah, kind of out of nowhere on both of these last two rounds. Split managing to pull it out, picking up round wins in both of them. And as you say, 7 points, track point for Split on a very important map. They need this to stay alive. They'll need all of the remaining maps to stay alive in the tournament, as they are staring down the barrel of a reverse sweep.
Oh, no mistake.
Outside Dirt is just bullying Evo. It was Josh on the first map. It's Key on map 3. They just can't keep the car out of the wall on those ones. This time around, though, Josh does survive where he crashed last time around, although Killian is right up alongside, keeping the pressure high. Killian is no friend to outside Dirt either. Will make the touch and drop behind. Shouldn't drop behind Key, but we'll wait and see at the next checkpoint.
Yep, currently in a draw formation. Killian has fallen behind, so this could be a victory for Evo, but it's still going to move Split closer and closer to that map win. Koza really has to hold on to a very important second, and it's not going to be second, it's going to be first. Josh goes way too far left on that jump, and we could see Killian hunting down Key here, going for a push. Is it going to happen? Not quite that time, but Split will move 9-6 heading into this. It's one of the ugliest scorelines possible to be on in the case of Evo Esports, because you get an ace, you're only tied up.
Yes, that's true.
Any point from Split here, they'll get a map on the board.
Say ugliest, I immediately started to look at it aesthetically and be like, what's wrong with 9s and 6s? Fine. Well, look, never mind all that, because Split have put themselves on the doorstep. They just need one player in the top 2, and frankly, it could be either of them. We've seen great rounds from both Killian and Kozer on Wildfire here. But the pace is there for Evo. If they don't crash, they're fully capable of getting an ace in this round or any round as well. This map is most definitely not over, and it won't be over until we get cars to the finish line here. Killian trying to just keep up in that top 2. Kozer dropping behind a little bit.
Yeah, it is all on Killian for the time being, as well as for Evo players not to make any mistakes. Killian pushing them, though, meaning that they can't save, they can't chill out yet. Killian with a mistake. And this is looking like ace formation for Evo. But Key with a small clip. Gonna allow Koza to overtake. Can Koza hold it together? 2 jumps left to go. And there she goes into second place. Map win for Split there on Wildfire. Not what I think we were predicting. Again, the consistency gremlins coming up for Evo on Wildfire, costing them the map.
Like, look, I mean, we saw good pace from Split, but I do think that overall the pace for Evo, like the actual max pace, was better on that map. You know, it was just that they genuinely could not get good rounds where both of them showed that pace at the same time. And it comes back to punish them. You could see in the faces there for Split that it was relief more than anything else. I think the fact that they managed to get a map on the board. I'm kind of hoping that they don't let it kind of the adrenaline now drop now that they've managed to get a map, that we don't just see Evo come out and wipe the floor with them and Split are kind of like, oh, at least we got one.
I hope not. But the thing is, it wasn't just like Split's consistency being there. They were driving some good pace. There were some really, really close rounds over the course of that. I mean, there was one where Killian, I think Key drove about 0.5 off world record and came last.
Yeah.
On most rounds, that would probably net you first or second. But that time, it was just it was just really good pace from Split. Some really good performances from Koza in particular. That first round snipe was brilliant. Yeah, they played so well, the pair of them, to get that point, to beat out Evo. As we're now going to be moving on to map number 4, which is Split's pick.
It is. They decided to bring us a Flower of the Ground instead of Peak for map 4. And, well, I guess we'll wait and see. Is this a decision they're going to come to regret? Will they be able to take us to our first map 5 of the tournament and look for the reverse sweep as well? Of course, Evo going up 2 maps quickly always does feel so difficult to fight back from. Split are doing it. Split have started to take that first step towards maybe, hey, we get a map 5, maybe we get into deciders. But for now, we'll sit at the bottom of the hill. We'll watch in Flower of the Ground as Split look to make it 2 map wins. Try to keep this one close.
Yeah, it's still going to be a tough battle, but it's they're still alive. And for now, it is Killian up with both front two. Koza a little bit behind, but this round certainly not determined by any means. We see a small clip from Key. Not going to be the biggest time loss, as they did have Reactor at that point. So that does still drop them down to 4th, and if rounds are as close as we know they can be, that could be costly. For now, it is Josh in the lead, being hounded by Koza. Killian supporting in 3rd. I'm still not sure how this is going to go. It's looking like it could be a draw, but it's kind of looking like it's on Key to push, to try and get something more for Evo here. Slow down for Killian, almost like a speed up for Koza there. Going into this final, we see a mistake from Josh. Koza
8,000.
holds on to 1st, 8,000ths of a second. The entire top 3 separated by 0.05 seconds as we see our first ever turtle finish. That's upsetting. But Split starting this map off again with a victory.
Yeah, big win for them. I mean, definitely helped by that crash from Josh at the end there. An unusual part of the track to send the car that high into the air on. And again, I mean, that's what it was on Wildfire. The pace was there for Evo. They just needed to keep it out of the wall and struggled to do so. Hopefully not a repeat for them on Flower of the Ground. But Key was really pushing there at the end. And Koza as well had some really solid pace, was looking at risk of catching Josh even if the crash hadn't come through. So denied a photo finish on that one. Can Evo get a little bit cleaner on this round? Can Josh maybe extend that lead? And can Key stay in support? The answer so far is yes. A pack of 3, and we've seen this before. Key and Josh up front with Killian alongside, and Koza just a couple of tenths behind there if there's any mistakes made.
Yeah, it is looking like a strong position for Evo for the time being. I think that gap back to Koza, she's going to be relying on mistakes to get anything better than 4th, so it is all on Killian. See if they can try and rescue a draw. Small clip, loses some time. Evo are in ace formation, only a couple of quarters to go, and Evo are going to get the ace by some fine margins, but they do get on and they take control of this map again.
Important for them to get that early, I feel,
For sure.
as well. You know, we were kind of saying Wildfire, and then maybe on this track, the pace is there, but the consistency isn't. And even if that's true, sometimes you will just get the round where it all lines up, both players drive quickly, and you get the ace. To get it early takes a huge amount of the pressure off now for Evo on this map. They have the lead, they can afford to play a little bit safer if they want as well. And with a crash from Koza, they can definitely play it a little bit safer this round. Killian sitting in 3rd, staring at those tail lights of Key and Josh as they look to put this map and potentially this match beyond reach.
Yeah, and that is a slowdown from Killian, clipping the inside of the pillar there. So it's looking good for Key and Josh. They are running away with this round. They just need to keep it clean, and they will pick up another ace, possibly moving them within touching distance of winning this match and closing out the series.
Yeah, looking solid, and hey, gap of 7/10. Surely, there's no way you lose it from here, right? It's going to be totally fine. They keep it very safe through that drift, far away from the wall, not pushing to the outside. And with only, again, a couple of corners left to go, don't fall off the inside, don't hit one of these walls, cross the line in 1-2, and move to track point, move to match point, and look to secure your spot in that lower bracket semi-final.
Yep, strong round from both of the Evo players, and Split are going to rely on a bit of a miracle here. They're going to need to get an ace of their own soon. And that is the best start they could possibly hope for if they want to get an ace, as we see Josh go into the wall, Key go into the wall, and I said they need an ace soon. They took about 13 seconds to go and secure it.
Yep, very obliging of Evo on that round. Both of them in walls early on. They got back to Key now, 7/10 or so. I mean, it's not completely out of it, right? You still need to keep this clean. You can't afford to overly safe it as Killian gets close to the pole on the inside of that corner. But this is looking good for Split. This is maybe the lifeline that they needed in the tournament.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They desperately needed an ace here to keep not just this map alive, but this entire match for entire tournament hope. So they are aware of the position they're in. If you look at the way they're driving, they're clean, they're not pushing. They've got a 7-10 gap. They don't need to push. They just need to get in the finish line, get to a 7-5 score line, and that suddenly looks a lot more possible for them.
Yeah.
They do it. That is another split ace. We're on to 7-5 here on map number 4. Still match point for Evo, but Split keeping themselves in it.
Yeah, hey, this is what we said for Evo, is they got that early ace, and that takes a lot of the pressure off. You can afford mistakes later on. They've now used up that kind of space they bought themselves by getting an early ace on the map. They now kind of need to start to drive some good rounds, at least one of them. Both of you can't crash, it's not allowed anymore. Josh and Key do sit 1-2 again off the start line on this. Kozza right behind, and Killian not gone from the fight either. But Evo, look, we've seen it time and again. We've said it time and again. The pace is there. They just need to get one round in cleanly.
Yeah. And this round is looking significantly better for that. We can see Josh and Key 1 and 2 heading up this outside dirt. Losing perhaps a little bit of time. Killian and Kozza are right there.
Oh.
But slight mistake from Killian. That is going to take him out of contention for that first and second place. Kozza, she's just a little too far behind. Is this the end of the road for Split with Kozza going into wall? You'd have to say it is. Josh and Key, they've looked shaky at points, but they have held it together here on a flower in the ground, first and second. Evo make it into the lower bracket semi-final. Split are knocked out despite a great performance.
Yeah, Split went down fighting. I mean, even in that last round there, obviously both of them do clip, but those are clips born from pushing. It was outside of corners. It was the places on the track you are when you are trying to take every ounce of speed that you can from it. And it unfortunately just didn't quite work out for them on that final round. But congratulations to Evo, who frankly drove a great match. I mean, it was definitely... There was room for things to be cleaned up. There were spaces where they maybe could have won a little bit quicker with the pace they were showing. And unfortunately, we saw some of those crashes go through. Now, it was enough in this match against Split, but they move forward in the tournament. They move on to face up against Wolves, who are looking real scary today right now. And I think that's going to be a great match. I'm just kind of nervous about some of those crashes coming through from Evo in that one.
I'm really worried for Evo on a couple of maps in particular. We haven't really seen them on peak much, and obviously Wolves look absolutely dominant. And Wildfire, it's so odd.
Yeah.
On pace, they should be so good, and they just cannot seem to win it. They cannot seem to get it together. So, yeah, I think those are certainly going to be the picks that I expect Wolves to go for. And... other than that, though, there were some really good tracks and some really good performances. They looked brilliant on its Soccer Not Football. Key's performance on its Soccer Not Football, absolutely stunning. So,
not a single crash at any point.
Yeah,
genuinely
no crash.
To wait for map 2 for Key to crash at all, which is great. Hey, let's find out what the team themselves think of it. We're going to head on over to the stage where KJ is standing by with the man of the hour himself, Josh, for a quick interview. Your microphone isn't working, and so everyone has to look at us for another few seconds here. I know the crowd in the arena could hear what was going on, but unfortunately Stream was not able to. We'll get you back over there in a second once that gets sorted out, but for now, I guess we just keep yapping.
Oh, yeah, we're very good at yapping, but that's why we're here. We're just here to yap for as long as possible.
Oh, shut up, Patster. We're going back to the
long.
stage.
We're done yapping. Back to you.
Hello, is this thing on? This thing on now? Okay, perfect. So, again, here with Josh after the victory in that map. Again, reiterate the question of how do you think you guys performed in that map?
I mean, it was okay. Shaky. Very shaky.
Shaky, but obviously enough to get the victory. Obviously, playing with Key got a lot of first places in that round, really sort of solidified as a team. How is it like playing with with a player such as Key for a duos tournament event like this?
It's nice. I mean, he sometimes finishes every run.
I mean, that's obviously beneficial for you, helps you out a lot. A lot of people know that you were up quite late last night, playing some of the maps, got a couple of world records here and there. What's the story behind that? Did you stay up all night? Did you go to sleep? Was demon hours of grinding out the tracks?
Well, I fell asleep quite quickly once I got home, so woke up like 3 a.m., didn't know what to do, so just loaded up my PC.
So you get a couple of online world records whilst you're at it. I mean, why not? Why not? And obviously, you guys are going to be going up against Wolves next in the lower bracket match. They played pretty good early today, and obviously you guys just won your match here pretty convincingly. How do you think you're going to perform going into that?
I actually didn't see that match. I do not have a drive-in. Hopefully we can win, but I'm not particularly placing my money on it either.
Fair. Well, I think everyone in the audience will be expecting you guys to perform really well. So good luck to you for that. And I believe the analyst desk are ready to break down that match.
Yeah, that's right. The game morale was paying off for Josh and Key as Evo Esports progressed to the top 4 and the lower bracket semi-finals where they'll meet Wolves. And yeah, that was a pretty solid game from them. Looked a little shaky in map 3, but other than that, can't say much.
It was the Evo Classic, honestly. I kind of expected it to go that way, where there's going to be at least one map where they should have won, and clearly the map that they lost. I mean, Split was trying hard, not saying that they weren't trying hard whatsoever, but it was clear that Evo had the pace for that map, and Evo has had the pace for every map. It's just straight up they cannot have the consistency like they need to have for every single round. But I'm happy as team manager, you know. Hey,
they're entertainers. They've got to give us. They've got to give us what we want. We want more maps, and they provided it for us. We got to map 4. Still yet to find that map 5, but hey, they're up against Wolves next. That could potentially be a very exciting game.
Yeah, it really could. I mean, if they continue to warm up, like if that is like we talked about earlier, like the Wolves kind of building a foundation, and now Evo have kind of got their eye in. They've driven these maps. Maybe had a slight wobble, but I think that's expected from any team at this point in the competition. The pressure's on, the stakes are high, and the competition is fierce at this point. So you're going to have a couple of wobbles, but it's how you build back from them. And Wolves, I think, look in formidable form at the moment. I think Evo can match that, but I feel like they need to take a step up going into that next round.
I feel like you guys are being way too nice to my team just because I'm on here. Let's be real. This is Evo's going to wobble no matter what stage it is, but that's okay. That's just how their play style is. They're going to be really good at some points and really off beat for other rounds, but I think for next round it will be close for sure. I mean, Wizzy and Akros surely have the pace to match with Key and Josh, but I do think Key and Josh have a little bit of advantage pace overall. But again, consistency is the name of Trackmania. It's not. It has not changed whatsoever in the years of Trackmania. So it's going to be down to who can actually finish on time.
And pace versus consistency has been this sort of debate that's had all weekend. Some
Every
races
competition.
Every single one. You always say those two words.
It's the freebie for every commentary in Trackmania.
Yeah. So some players have had that pace, and like again, in our next game, it's Geese Can Fly versus MoveOut. That's the thread we're going to pull on Davinios, because
yes,
100%.
That's the consistency factor. EPOS has the pace. He's got world record pace on most of these tracks until like 4 a.m. this morning. But it's Davino. Can he keep that consistency? And if he does, Geese Can Fly continue that sort of dominance that we've come to expect from them?
Yeah, I mean, it's the massive question mark, right? Is Davino? We know how good Boz is. We know how good Jaden is. Like we've spoken to him before as kind of this up and coming prodigy. I think he's there now. I think he's at that level that we can like respect him as, you know, top 4 player in the UK. So yeah, and obviously EPOS as well. It is just that Davino factor, and we saw him clutch it yesterday, but he looked shaky afterwards. You know, you could see him like visibly nervous and like obviously relieved that he'd managed to clutch it up, but like the stress that he was going through, you could see that all over his face. So I'm wondering today with the competition like continuing just to get to that kind of boiling point, can Davino keep his cool? Can Davino drive? Because Davino's potential is insane, by the way. Like, such a good player. It is just that consistency element, and if he can pull it off, then EPOS and Davino could maybe have an quote-unquote upset.
And I mean, on the side of Bozbez and Jadon too, it's not like they're the perfect players either. We've seen them struggle as well. Yes,
sure,
they have been dominant overall, but they have had definitely maps where they have struggled to be able to even finish or have finished cleanly for that matter. So every day it changes. The consistency level never really rises in the competition. Every day is a reset. Every match is a reset. So it'll just be who is locked in and focused for that match going forward.
And maybe it's a case of will Moonvow try and exploit the weaknesses that we saw from them yesterday. Peak was not good. 4 Geese Can Fly, even with, like, we didn't see them in their first game against Retirement Home. We didn't get to that point. But when they played Peak in that second game, they looked really rough. And can Moonvow sort of take advantage of that? Is it going to be a case of it's a new day? Like, they've just revitalize themselves a little bit, or are we going to see those same issues come to fruition? Are we going to see this be the close game that we're really looking for between these two sides, because at the end of the day, these two are the sides that were expected to maybe make grands.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say as well. Like they're in the upper bracket final. They feel like they're the top two at the moment. Maybe someone from lowers can really take that big step up and challenge whoever drops down. But it feels like it could be a repeat in the grand final for sure. I think the deciding factor is going to be like Epos versus Boz. I think is going to be the big match, and how Jaden is able to back Boz up. We haven't really seen Jaden falter. It was more Boz faltering yesterday than Jaden making the bigger mistakes, which I don't think anybody was particularly expecting. So it's really hard to judge until we get into that first map and we see like how first two maps, one pick each, then we can see how either side is feeling. If Epos is just able to drive within 2/10 of world records, if Boz is able to drive within 2/10 of world record, that's what we've seen from them in so many competitions over the years. Import.
I mean, from an insider perspective, because I do actually hang out with them pretty much every day on Discord and everything. For Boz, Epos, and Jadon, it is kind of like a brother-sibling rivalry between all three of them. Throw in a couple extra players here and there. Even Josh also is in the same Discord. We're all in the Shift Discord. That's where we all hang out most of the time. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to training, when it comes to literally anything, they're always just kind of jousting against one another, comparing notes, comparing thoughts about different maps and whatnot. So and having watched from the outside in terms of just like how they interact with each other, how they play and everything, they each and every single one of them have an off moment and an on moment when it comes to different maps, different games, different tournaments, etc. So as much as it would be cool to be like 100% prediction, Boz, Jadon are going to be in it to win it and like they're going to stomp everybody, I can't say that personally because I know I've seen their lows, I've seen their highs. Same with Epos, where I've seen his lows and high as well. So it's going to be a fun match either way to watch.
Yeah, it's one of our most exciting games coming up, and we see who goes to the grand finals. It's Geese Can Fly. It's Moonvale coming up after this short break.